of you say it's the
on him tonight.
J.P. Piper, their head coach, telling us today, as he goes, we go. There is Piper, who just got his 100th win as Nicholls head coach. They beat IUPUI the other night in Indianapolis. And, of course, Tom Crean, the head coach of the Hoosiers in his 6th year at IU, has taken the program to 2 straight Sweet 16. So we are ready to go. The Colonels and the Hoosiers. Next to last non-conference game for IU. The final non-conference game for Nicholls. They play in the Southland Conference. And the opening tip is controlled by the Hoosiers, and Yogi Ferrell brings it across.
Watch for Indiana to try to get the ball in the post as much as they possibly can via the post pass or the dribble penetration.
And Williams called for the walk. That was a point of emphasis when we talked to Tom Crean today, and just a very different team than last year. That was a jump shooting team, one of the top 5 3-point shooting teams in the nation. But Jordan Holes is gone, Christian Watford is gone, the guys who can light it up from the outside. Now they have to learn how to play differently.
Yeah, and they have to really penetrate the basketball, especially against Nicholls tonight. Not a lot of depth in either the backcourt or the front court, so that they want to get to the foul line. They want to get them in foul trouble early.
Well, this is a team that has a propensity to get in foul trouble. In Nicholls, this is Rillier, their point guard. This is the man you talked about off the top, Thomas, who gets the friendly roll in the first 2 points, going to Dantrell Thomas.
Dantrell Thomas with a set of shoulders on him that allows him to create space off the bounce.
They cannot afford this, though. That is a foul on Thomas, so less than a minute in, he has his first.
When you see Yogi Ferrell coming with a full steam, you almost have to get out of his way if you're not set up defensively, because he's going to draw a foul. He's so quick and so strong with the rock.
Well, this is a Nicholls team that's been called for 73 more fouls than their opponents have, as the shot is blocked there by Jamarcus Horace. I mean, think about that. 8 games, that's more than 9 more per game. There's a huge disparity in terms of free throws. That has really hurt them this year.
And what that indicates to me, Dave, is that they're out of position defensively, which may mean they probably don't match up athletically with most of their opponents here in the early going.
There's Dantrell Thomas. And he has 4 early points, and the Colonels out to the 4-0 lead. Now IU wants to run it. And a foul as Troy Williams took it into the lane. It's on Jeremy Smith. That'll be his first.
Indiana's so impressive, even if you score on them. They're looking to push it right back at you. Troy Williams out on the break before the Colonels could set up.
This is Hollowell. Nice pass for Sheehy on the baseline. Thomas got him, though, on the way up. That's Liam Thomas, a freshman out of Sydney, Australia. A number of Australians on this Nicholls team. And so now Sheehy goes to the line, coming off a really good game. You're talking about it off the top. Career high 22 points in the loss to Notre Dame. Very different role for Will Sheehy on this team, Steve.
And he seems to me, Dave, he and Glenn Robinson III, almost like reluctant stars. It's time for them to step up and assume much more of the leadership, much more of the scoring load. Sometimes they seem hesitant to do that.
Big Ten 6th man of the year last year. We see some pressure here from the Hoosiers. Colonels get it across, and Thomas is fouled.
Dantrell Thomas, one of these guards that smaller school, but has the body and the propensity to get to the rim. Loves contact, and he has been very aggressive here early.
Thomas misses the free throw. He's one of their better free throw shooters on a team that is dead last in the nation in free throw percentage. Get involved in the Twitter conversation around tonight's game. Go to btn.com/connect. You can find our hashtags periodically in the upper right of your screen. It's BTN Connect, presented by Buick. And the Hoosiers turn it over again. That's 2 turnovers now for IU.
And this is what Nicholls wants to do. They want to shorten the game, Dave, by taking a lot of time in each possession if they don't have a quick look in the first 5 to 10 seconds of the shot clock.
Thomas being guarded by Hollowell. Now Liam Thomas inside. He's called for the walk.
See why coach is pretty high on Liam Thomas. He's going to fill out a little bit. And still young like Noah Vonleh, but not built quite like Noah yet. Pretty skilled, though, with the footwork.
Offensive foul on the Hoosiers away from the ball. And there aren't many who are built like Noah Vonleh when they're high school freshmen.
No, and watch how he establishes position. He'll get away with this in the Big Ten. He's just throwing Liam around a little bit because Liam is a little light in the britches. 6'10", 195.
Vonleh with 45 pounds on him. So the first foul on Vonleh has been Big Ten freshman of the year already of the week, I should say, 3 times this season. Off to a great start. Liam Thomas can hit it from the outside. Doesn't take that one. You mentioned it, Stephen. The Colonel's clearly going to be deliberate here.
Yeah, they can't afford to go up and down with the Hoosiers. They don't have the personnel nor the depth.
Thomas left that one short. Williams scoops it up, not there. And the rebound chased down by Rouillet. Try to get it to Smith. It's knocked away. Hollowell's got it. Now Sheehy. And it blocked by Thomas. Hollowell gets it back. Misses that one, but Vonleh tips it in.
Again, has been a defensive stalwart with relentless pursuit of the rock by the Hoosiers. No one sealing off Vonleh on the backside.
Indiana does a great job of getting to the glass. They lead the nation in rebound differential.
And that's a personality. That's a team personality. You don't get that naturally. You have to develop that. And these Hoosiers work on getting to the glass with authority.
Some miscommunication there. Third turnover on the Colonels.
See, really good defense. See, Liam Thomas with the block. He'll go for it again, but no one boxes out Noah Vonleh on the backside.
Vonleh checks out of the game. Luke Fisher, freshman from Germantown, Wisconsin, the player of the year in the state of Wisconsin last year, parade All-American, checking into the game.
Tom Crange argue on behalf of Noah Vonleh trying to establish position. Didn't understand why that was a foul.
Give some credit to John Gaffney, a willing ear. Hearing the coach out. Devin Gordon's checked in for IU. Now Farrell. There's Gordon in the corner. And rims out. And the rebound pulled down by Sam McBeth, who was checked in. McBeth is another Australian. Had a really nice game against IUPUI. Coming back from an injury, just his 3rd game back.
We'll be hearing that often tonight. We'll talk about a little bit more their connection to Australia.
TJ Carpenter. It's his first 2, and Nichols extends the lead back out to 3. There's Sheehy on the baseline being guarded by Carpenter. Gets the hoop. And Carpenter called for the foul.
Those seniors, and total 5 guys that are playing professionally. So at 8-3 in their 12th game of the year, having had some tests against Syracuse as well, I think they're doing quite fine.
Yeah, 4,000-point scorers gone off last year's team. There's 2 of the first 4 players taken in the NBA draft. So that is not easy to simply replace.
No, you're talking about an Oladipo, Zeller, Christian Watford that had a game-winning shot against Kentucky. Jordan Holes, who was a 4-year starter here, an Indiana kid that could shoot the basketball, knew how to play. You're replacing a lot, and you're replacing a lot of leadership. And I think that's one of the areas where we need to see Sheehy and Yogi Ferrell really step up.
Macbeth with the ball, 10 to shoot, so good defensive possession for the Hoosiers. As Gordon goes to the floor, it'll be IU ball.
Shane Rouillet just lost control of the basketball that time. That was what's called an unforced error. Tried to do a rip through and hit the ball on the ground and on the court. Coach talked about he's got guys who can shoot the ball in practice day, but in games they just don't come through. And those type of mental errors that get you in trouble in a game like this early.
There's a mental error on Indiana's side from Farrell. Nichols almost gave it back. There's Macbeth. Puts it on the floor, and a nice move around Fisher. The first two.
It takes a lot of defensive communication to be able to pressure like that, Dave, and then drop back into man-to-man defense.
Maciel misses the three badly. Liam Thomas battling for the board with Gordon. Goes out of bounds. It'll be IU ball.
Liam Thomas is fortunate that time. Could have picked up his second foul going after that loose ball.
Devin Davis, 15 in there as well for IU. Very hard-nosed freshman who Tom Crean likes quite a bit. And just as I say that, Davis turns it over.
Well, Indiana's had some time this week, and Coach Crean talking about how hard they've worked. They've had a really good week of practice. Looks like they've got a little bit of rust.
No doubt, 7 turnovers already as Doyle misses the three. That is Luke Doyle, who has just checked into the game for Nichols. Back in Bloomington, Indiana on top of Nichols, 10-9 here. Just over 8 minutes in. Will Sheehy now. And a foul will go against Jadante Fry. And that is his first. And that'll be 7 on Nichols. So Indiana into the bonus, which is something that Tom Crean emphasized to us they needed to do early on in games. Obviously not much to the liking of J.P. Piper, but this is a team that's has shot a lot of free throws this year, and Tom Crean was saying the Notre Dame game, they just didn't get those opportunities. They weren't creating, driving to the hoop, getting Notre Dame into foul trouble, and wanted to see them in the bonus earlier tonight, which he does as Stanford Robinson hits the first one.
Well, when you're playing Notre Dame, you're not going to get as many opportunities for fouls because they play predominantly zone defense.
Right.
So it's designated to keep you out of the lane, cut off dribble penetration. So that's understandable, but they're committed, the Hoosiers are, to getting to the rim and getting to the line. And they've benefited from the Colonels and some not-so-smart fouls early on.
And now they force the turnover off the pressure. Alley-oop Sheehy comes down with it, and he will go back to the strike. Now, this is an IU team in the top 10 nationally in free throws made per game. They have 8 players with 25 or more free throw attempts, which is tied for first nationally, and they created it off the steal, Steve.
Well, and this is the pressure that they are applying after a made free throw. Being very patient. Evan Gordon being extremely active on the top of that pressure. He's not very tall, but as long as he gives that type of effort at the tip of the 1-2-2 pressure, it'll pay dividends for him.
Now we see Gordon checking out. Vonleh back in for IU along with Yogi Ferrell. And Sheehy hits 1 of 2. And again, IU coming with the pressure, Steve.
And Sheehy is much bigger, much longer at that point. So it's a lot tougher to reverse the basketball against him than it was Evan Gordon, even though when Gordon was at the tip of it, they created a turnover.
Much better job bringing it across there for the Colonels. Kate Towers, number 20, is checked in for Nichols. This is Smith into the lane. Can't get it to go. And Vonleh snatches the board down. And here comes Ferrell in transition.
Noah Vonleh is really fundamentally sound for a freshman.
Pretty good at doing that, too. Great athleticism. Just a very impressive. He is a finished product. Was a finished product when he arrived on campus. There just aren't many guys like that.
No, not physically gifted like that, but he wants to be great. And so he doesn't mind working. He doesn't mind getting in the gym. He doesn't read press clippings. He doesn't care about individual accolades. That's very rare for today's player to be that young and that heralded coming in.
8-0 run for IU. Here comes Ferrell now. Nichols State 7 straight field goal attempts they have missed after a hot start. There's Robinson. Unimpeded to the hoop.
Relentless pressure to the basket once again by the Hoosiers. Not settling for jump shots. Putting their head down. If they get cut off, they'll find an open teammate.
We were talking about Vonleh, and Tom Crean's been very complimentary of his work ethic. You were saying a guy who is constantly in the gym. He's watching video. He just wants to be great. And we have a combination of that skill set and that kind of want-to. That's a nice combo. 3 to shoot here for Nichols. Smith's going to have to throw one up there off the rim, no good. And here comes Robinson for IU. Now Etherington going to try the 3. That misses badly.
I don't think Coach Crean is upset by that because he got a wide open look. And the reason is because their commitment to keep pushing the basketball in the offensive end, Dave, is starting to wear Nichols down already. They're starting to have defensive breakdowns where they're not picking up the basketball.
Nice move by Dantrell Thomas. 7 points now for Thomas. Good job by Vonleh to save it. Sheehy can't hit. Vonleh gets it back, and Towers fouled him.
Take a look at Noah Vonleh. Watch where he comes all the way to the rim. And Yogi Ferrell uses the double screen. The defense has to shift over. Vonleh wide open at the bucket. Relentless movement. A lot of times it's tough to get young players to continue to move continue to get to opposite of the point guard so you can receive a pass. He's just a natural talent. Very unusual for his freshman classification.
4 straight double-doubles to start his career. The first freshman to do that in college basketball. Pretty good player in Kansas State. Michael Beasley back in 2007. Already 5 points on this day, making 6 for Vonleh.
And one of the things we don't give Vonleh enough credit for, he's in tremendous shape. When you're that big and you got to go baseline to baseline and rebound the way he does, tremendous shape.
McBeth misses on the other end. Towers going for the rebound. It comes out to Farrell. Comes IU. And a traveling call to Troy Williams. Turnovers really been an issue for IU. 8 turnovers here in the first half for the Hoosiers, a team that averages about 15 per game.
Well, when you commit to the run and you've got young players that are trying to make moves on the fly, you're going to get that from time to time. I think Crean understands around February it will start to click. Troy Williams will understand position on the floor, that type of thing. He'll understand more what he can do without getting called for his second travel here in the first half.
For the Colonels. That's 7 for them. Here again, leading the nation in terms of rebound margin, Steve.
And that's effort. And you've got a young team. Effort is something that you can control. And that will continue to pay dividends once they get into the Big Ten Conference.
Noah Vonleh been a huge part of that. You see, 3rd in the nation among freshmen in terms of rebounds per game. Julius Randle he's a man in there. He is alone.
Yes, he is.
But Vonleh has certainly played extremely well here to start his career. Jeff Howard, 24, is checked in for IU. Walk-on who's seen a lot of playing time this year, including a start. Colin Hartman in there as well.
Yogi Ferrell, very difficult to defend in those pick-and-roll situations. If you go underneath, he can step back and use the 2 bigs as a screen to get an open jumper. If you go over the top, he's extremely quick. In that time, defense anticipated him going into the screen, and he went baseline. So you got to pick your poison with Yogi Ferrell.
Ferrell misses the free throw. 81% for him on the year. It's really improved his shooting from the field this year. I mean, his 3-point percentage up about 10 percentage points.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job. He could shoot like that at Park Tudor High School in Indianapolis, but chose to defer with all the upperclassmen last season.
A foul on Indiana as they were applying pressure in the backcourt.
Yeah, Jeremy Smith looks real shaky with the basketball. Even though he's a redshirt senior, in the backcourt with the Colonels, he does not look good. And players can sense when their opponents are shaky with the rock. They start turning up the defense. So he looks real shaky right here.
Well, Smith in jeopardy getting a 10-second count. They get it across. Now McBeth into the lane. Blocking foul is called.
Wow, they didn't count the bucket? I thought that was an and-one situation. Looked like he was going up and contact was made. Indiana gets a big break right there.
No, they did count it. They just signaled that it does count. You're right. I mean, it was clearly in the act of shooting. As Howard checks out, Hollowell comes back in. Now McBeth now going to the free throw line. Had a great freshman year. He was the Southland Conference Freshman of the Year, but injured his foot and just now getting back into game shape. That's 5 points for Sam McBeth. Farrell tried to feed it inside to Perea, but Perea fell down, so another turnover for IU.
Perea's looking around like he got, Mike Kitts, the official, said he slipped on the line. Thought he got pulled down by his opponent. He got away with one, Kay Towers.
Carpenter with it. This is McBeth. He'll try the 3. That one's well short, and the rebound to Hollowell.
Indiana's going to get that jumper all night long.
Hollowell coming in on Macbeth, and he gets the roll. First two for Jeremy Hollowell, the sophomore out of Indy.
And Jeremy Hollowell is another player, Dave, that I think could step up and provide a very consistent scoring presence. He can shoot the three. You saw him put it on the deck. He gave a nice little bump to create the space. He can post up. At 6'8", he's so versatile. A lot of times for him, I think it's the lack of focus during the game.
Yeah, but you're right, a really tough matchup for people because he can take you outside and put it on the floor as well. Off the miss now. Hartman with the rebound for Indiana. Here comes Farrell. Nice pass to Williams. Lost the ball on his way up. Hoosiers wanted a foul. It'll stay IU's ball as Gordon checks back in.
Well, we're not. What I'd like to point out that Indiana does as well as anyone in the country, their outlet passes, once they secure the defensive rebound, are so far up the court, it gives them a head start on a fast break situation. They do it as well as anybody in the country.
Johnny Marlin transferred from IPFW, passed up on that shot. Nichols now trying to cut into this 8-point lead.
And when Marlin passed up that three, it threw everyone off on the floor, all his teammates, because they're expecting him to go up with that shot.
Dantrell Thomas can't get it to go, gets it back though. And a late whistle. It's going to be a held ball, and it'll go to the Colonel. Devin Davis back in for IU. So get a good look at Perea.
Really good defense by Perea without fouling. Using his length and timing for that tie-up.
Jamarcus Morris back into the game as Macbeth sits down for the Colonels. Dantrell Thomas with a turnaround.
I like watching him play. He is fearless among the trees. Not as tall, but quite strong and very confident.
Hollowell, nice move.
A lot of times players will lose their balance, get called for a travel that time. He kept his pivot foot down and was strong with the basketball.
Down low, Hornish loses it. And it's going to be Indiana ball.
Watch the good footwork. Jeremy Hollowell, right here, he recognized that a double team was coming there for a little bit, pivoted, got his balance back, went up strong. He could be an X factor for this Hoosiers ball club, especially in Big Ten Conference play. He's got enough conference games under his belt to know what to expect.
Played 33 games off the bench last year, and it's been a mainstay in the starting lineup this year. A team that lost so much, 74% of its scoring gone from a year ago. So some of these players who were ancillary role guys will have to step up for Indiana as Davis is fouled on his way to the basket.
Personal foul on Nickel Spain, number 20, Kate Powers. Two free throws, Indiana.
Davis getting into the act of penetrating to the rim. He's got the size of a wing, but I think he's a lot more comfortable around the basket.
First free throw is good for Devin Davis. Played at Warren Central for former IU standout Greg Graham. I mentioned this earlier, but Tom Crean has had nothing but praise for Devin Davis. This is not one of those guys who's McDonald's All-American type guy, but someone who you know is going to come in, give you 4 really good years and be a factor for you year in and year out. And Hollowell coming up with a steal. Here comes Gordon the other way. Now Marlin. Back to Gordon, who hasn't really gotten it going yet today. Davis inside. He'll go back to the stripe. And fouls on Thomas. That's number 2 on Dantrell Thomas.
Talking about Devin Davis, 6'7", 225, built very well as a freshman. And the reason Tom Crean likes him is because here's a guy that knows his game. He's not going to get outside and shoot a bunch of jump shots. He's going to get around that rim, use his strength, and he's a bulldog. He really loves to compete. He loves contact. He's got a Big Ten body already as a freshman.
So He's had 3 straight free throws. He was 5 of 10 on the year before this. Stroke looks good, though, here.
And this pressure has continued to wear them down right there.
Another turnover. Marlin coming up with a loose ball. That is 10 turnovers for the Colonels. Hollowell makes them pay. 6 points now for Jeremy Hollowell. And the lead, the biggest it has been, 14 for the Hoosiers.
You're looking at one starter on the floor right now for Indiana. This group has been clicking. The ball's moving effectively. Guys are sharing the rock, and defensively, they've turned it up a notch.
Torres. This is Smith into the lane. That jumper's left short. Hollowell coming the other way as IU wants to run it again. That's really want Marlin to shoot it. Fisher with the cross-court pass to Hollowell.
Marlin knows if he lets one of those go early, he'll be over there by Tom Crean.
He's enjoying the early first half playing time, I'd have to think. They try to get it to Fisher, and another turnover for the Hoosiers. 10 for IU. Penetration there from TJ Carpenter, and he draws the foul. A good stretch there for of the Colonels of Nichols. It is Nichols State University. They prefer, though, to be called Nichols, located in Thibodaux, Louisiana, but south and west of New Orleans. Enrollment of about 7,100, and you see a look at the campus. They play in the Southland Conference, a 14-team league. Northwestern State, Oral Roberts, a new member of that league. Stephen F. Austin among some of the more familiar names. Northwestern State was the NCAA tournament team last year. They lost to Florida in their opener. And to the line for Nichols, TJ Carpenter. This is a program that's been to the NCAA on 2 occasions, most recently in 1998.
TJ Carpenter at the line. An outstanding second half. Their last game beating IUPUI. He had 12 of his 14 in the second half, so not much of a factor up to this point, but he may want to have a redo, not replay, but since they're from Louisiana, a redo. How do I spell it?
R-U-R-E-D-E-A-U-X.
There it is, yeah. A redo.
I like the way you're thinking. I'll tell you, to win on the road like they did against IUPUI and ended a streak of 15 straight losses in regular season non-conference road games. I mean, those are hard to come by for a team like this. So that's impressive. Go on the road and win.
It is impressive. And in this current road trip of theirs, 5,000 miles, all 3 time zones touched. So these are road warriors here. They have a pretty good showing right now.
Hollowell missing on the baseline, and Smith tracks it down for the Colonels. As Marcus Fry thought about it, now Fry tied up. But the foul is called. It's going to go against Gordon.
Personal foul, Indiana, number 10, Gordon.
That is the first on Gordon. Don't forget the State Farm halftime report coming up. Rick Pizzo, Tim Doyle standing by. They'll catch you up on everything going on in the Big Ten. We have a game later tonight as well. We'll see Minnesota against Omaha. This is the theme on BTN. Nebraska-Omaha doesn't want to be called Nebraska-Omaha anymore. They want to be Omaha. Nichols State wants to be Nichols. So it's kind of there's some continuity there, Stephen.
Yeah, I see that. And I'll stay in the Midwest, but I'll get outside the Big Ten a little bit. I guess Miami of Ohio wants to be called Miami.
Yeah, Miami
Not
University.
a chance.
Right.
Not a chance.
Hey, you work for Memphis State.
Well, Memphis is not compared to a southern destination spot like Miami of Ohio is trying to be compared to the Hurricanes. So they can be mad at me all they want. I'm not going to do it.
All right. No rebranding as far as you're concerned
No.
when it comes to the Red Hawks.
That's right.
Campus is not all that far from here. Turnover by the Hoosiers. And on the other end, Torres misses, but good job controlling the board and putting it back in by Jamarcus Hortis. He gets his first 2.
See, the Colonels now back within 10.
Yep.
You know, staying in this thing.
Gordon unable to hit the 3. Battle for the rebound. Macbeth goes down. It comes back out, though, to Gordon. And now Farrell going to reset it with a fresh 35 as we wind towards 2 minutes in the first half.
Dave, let's take a look at what the defensive pressure has come up big for the Hoosiers. Evan Gordon very active on the front. And this is all caused by deflections. Active hands, active arms, high hands. The Hoosiers keep a board of deflection and hustle plays through practice and through games. And that's one of the reasons, because it creates opportunities from their defense and creates easy opportunities on the offensive end.
Farrell at the free throw line. We were talking to Tom Crean this morning, and I kind of said to him, what do you want this team to be in March? And it was interesting to hear him talk about how disruptive he wants them to be defensively, that was the way they were really going to excel this year. He knows he doesn't have quite the offensive firepower, certainly the outside shooting that they had a year ago. But he said if we're flying around, if we're causing teams to play at a tempo they don't want to play at, we can be a really good team.
I agree with him, because, look, they're doing the job on the glass. They're one of the best rebounding teams in the country. They're doing the job in terms of getting up and down the court. They average 81.9 points per game. So later on in the Big Ten Conference, I expect them to take care of the basketball better. But if they can commit and stay committed to running the basketball, getting on the glass, playing disruptive defense, they'll be a handful come March.
And Jeremy Smith turning that one over. 11 turnovers now on the Colonel. So kind of speaks to the disruptive nature of what IU's doing. This is a team that only turns it over 12 times per game coming in. They've nearly hit that total, and we're not even at halftime, Stephen.
And what is really underrated about the Hoosiers defensively is their length. They are so long. You look at Sheehy at 6'6", but his wingspan is incredible.
And Sheehy's going to go back to the free throw line. And you look at the guys that they have out there right now. I mean, Perea, obviously, great wingspan. 7'4" wingspan for him. Vonleh's another guy with a wingspan right around 7'4". I mean, that's tough. That's tough to get around.
It's tough to get around. Troy Williams on the perimeter at 6'7". Jeremy Hollowell at 6'8" on the perimeter. Sheehy at 6'6". I mean, Stanford Robinson 6'5". Davis 6'7". I mean, they've got length on this club. And length a lot of times can make up for lack of height. They don't lack height either, but length is a very underrated component of good defensive teams.
Well, Sheehy missing them both, but the offensive rebound for Williams. Now Farrell tries to get it to Perea. Goes out of bounds, and it will be Indiana ball.
Perea had visions of a nasty dunk coming, and he was already at the rim before he caught the basketball.
Got to catch the ball first in order to do that. Tom Crean going to talk things over here with the Hoosiers up by a dozen with 1:12 to go. Such a young guy, 31 years old, an infusion of energy in that program, but that's where Minnesota's going to have to make hay this year.
Well, and his father came to the game against South Dakota State. We had the opportunity to interview him, and Rick, father Pitino, said he thinks they're two power forwards away from really being very good. Now, a lot of teams are a couple of really good power forwards away from being really good, but Austin Hollins and Andre Hollins, a pretty good backcourt to start with.
And he said that right off. I mean, he praised Tubby Smith, and so the guy did a very good job recruiting Lefty with some good players. And the first two you mentioned, obviously, the Hollins is Austin and Andre. Another turnover there for Nicholls State, so 12 for them. And IU trying to build on the 15-point lead. Again, the State Farm halftime report with Rick and Tim is less than a minute away here.
Well, Nicholls was close to within 10 points and had a few mental lapses. Indiana's taking advantage of it, closing out the first half.
His pass inside to Perea, and he'll go to the free throw line.
Excellent floor spacing by the Hoosiers. Watch Perea pin the defender. No help on the backside. Good execution by the Hoosiers.
Tanner Perea, 73% from the line on the year, has yet to score in this game. The native of Columbia. It's his first point. Very highly touted recruit. Remember, had to sit out last year and just never got into the flow. And part of that was they had a really good team. And when you sit out 9 games at the beginning of the year, it's hard to break into that rotation.
Especially when that's your first year coming in and, you know, things are moving at lightning speed. Everything's too fast. So now slow down for him a little bit. He understands his responsibilities.
Aurelier, nice job breaking the pressure, and Horace able to convert on the reverse. So 4 points for Jamarcus Horace. Indiana up 15. You would assume they will hold for a final shot here.
High pick and roll with Yogi Ferrell.
Get something going here. Ferrell's just going to put the 3 up there and see if someone can go get it. Unable to do so, so that ends the half. The Hoosiers on top of the Colonels.
So the bowl won't change that much. We'll have a new gigantic Jumbotron. We'll have a brand new atrium, new bathrooms, new concession stands, premium seating to help a revenue stream to pay for future repairs and hopefully keep it viable for another 42 years.
Tell me what the genesis of this was. At what point did you start working on it, and when did you know that you had this gift in place?
Well, we were trying to think about what comes next, and basketball kind of makes the world go around here at Indiana, even though we feel like we're improving in football and all about 24 sports, one team. We decided we ought to keep this building, the uniqueness of it, the iconic nature of it, as opposed to scraping it and starting over.
So you talked about the new scoreboard, some of the other amenities. It seems like a lot of this, as Yogi Ferrell gets the first 2.5 for the Hoosiers, is focused around the fan experience.
Absolutely. We want to improve the fan experience, improve the amenities while keeping that iconic traditional venue that we do believe is the best home court advantage in college basketball. It feels kind of like the opposing team feel like Custer, and we're all the Indians around the top of the canyon, and I think it's affected some outcomes of some games over the years.
I would say so. It's been a great home court advantage. What's the time frame, Fred?
We're ambitious. We hope to have this done as early as 2016. So these kids who are freshmen here today will play in the building as it's renovated before they graduate as fourth-year seniors.
Thomas gets the roll. He'll go to the free throw line for the Colonels.
So let me ask you this. How do you keep some of the fans at bay that don't like change with the name and everything?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Steve, and I get it, man. I mean, I went to school here. I grew up in Indiana, and we have pride in the fact that it was Assembly Hall.
Right.
But the traditionalists should really embrace this because it's keeping Assembly Hall. It's not scraping it for a new building. And, you know, things change. I kind of wish it was 1981 for the rest of my life. I was a senior in college. We were national champions. The Big Ten had 10 teams. They played a round-robin tournament on Saturdays and Tuesdays. But the world changes, and you've got to adapt.
11 points now for Yogi Ferrell as he hits the three-pointer. I can just tell you anecdotally, in spending some time around the building today, you hear a lot of the fans with suggestions as she throws down the alley-oop. But there's certainly plenty of people with plenty of opinions on what to do with this building and how that $40 million can be spent.
Right. Well, that's the great thing about IU basketball. It generates a lot of passion. I think the really cool thing, and the real answer to you, Steve, is Cindy Simon-Scott is such a cool person. She's part of Hoosier Nation. She came here as a 5-year-old with her dad. She's gone to games her whole life. She's an alumni. She went to games as a student. She knows all the scores. She knows all the players. The only difference between her and most of Hoosier Nation is she has lots of means, and she's willing to share it for the greater good.
Well, thanks for sharing your insights with us. Fred Glass, the athletic director here at Indiana. Hoosiers by 19.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, so what do you penetration? Kick back, gets his feet set, lets it fly, and then an excellent connection with Will Ferrell at the rim. Hoosiers really coming out of the halftime break focused and energized.
A 7-3 run to start the second half here for IU. They extend the lead to 19, the biggest it has been in this game. Colonel's able to break the press. Now Liam Thomas, Dantrell Thomas, really. This is Morris. Shot clock winding down towards 5. Liam Thomas. Someone's going to have to do something. Smith with 2 to shoot. I don't think he knows it. We want to talk about unforced errors. That would qualify.
Especially at the guard position, you've got to know shot clock situation at all times. Plus, Shane Rillier should have been screaming at him. That's the point guard's job, to alert everyone on the court when the shot clock is running down.
Here's Farrell. She tries to get it into Vonleh. It's knocked away. Dantrell Thomas has it 1-on-2. Thomas will take it anyway. She sends it into about the 5th row.
Will Sheehy, struggling in the first half offensively, exercised some demons right there on the block with the offhand, the left hand. Nice defensive play without foul.
I'll say that was emphatic, no doubt about it.
You know, guards and wings like to act like big men sometime and get aggressive and throw stuff up in the stands and look at their opponent.
Here comes Farrell off the Liam Thomas miss. Nice pass inside. Vonleh missed the layup. Wow, was that pretty?
It was pretty, and I was surprised Vonleh was able to catch it. That was a bullet through the defense.
Now Horace traveled. The turnovers just keep piling up for the Colonels. 15 now.
Indiana, Tom Crean has to be pleased. He wasn't pleased at the start of the game, the amount of turnovers, but his first group has come out here very active, very focused.
Here's Hollowell. Got caught in the air, tried to throw it to Vonleh to bail himself out, but Noah wasn't expecting it. So now 13 turnovers for IU. Smith hanging in the air, left it well short. And ball goes out of bounds. It will go to the Colonels.
He got away with the foul that time. He's smart, though. He throws his hand straight up. He hit like Thomas with his, or Smith rather, with his body. Threw him off balance, but didn't get picked up for the foul.
There's Roulier. And Nichols certainly continues to show a lot of patience on the offensive end. The issue is a lot of these possessions ending in turnovers, and this one does as well. Devin Davis going to the floor. Now a battle for the ball, and it's going to be a held ball. It'll go to the Colonels.
Tell you what, Dantrell Thomas.
He's battled, hasn't he?
He really has.
But impressive.
He looked like there was no way he was going to get this loose ball, but he got on the floor and beat everyone to it to give his team another possession.
He's the leading scorer in 4 of their first 8 games. He's an awfully good player.
He's a good player, and the thing is, if his teammates would match his intensity and alertness, we wouldn't be down 19 right now.
The officials are huddling right here. Donnie Epley going over and talking to them at the scores table. They're going to add some time to the shot clock. They're going to put it to 35. Or to 33, I should say, after the change of possession. Here's Roulier. Now Thomas. That doesn't go. Tipped up and in, though, by Horace. 6 points for Jamarcus Horace.
Solid offensive possession by the Colonels that time. Got a very good look at the basket. They were balanced offensively, able to get the offensive rebound.
Davis inside. He walked with it. Indiana up by 17, but the turnovers continue to pile up for Tom Crean's team. Back here in Bloomington, Indiana on top by 17. Dantrell Thomas missing the layup there, but it will stay with the Colonels.
If I'm Indiana and Dantrell Thomas gets the basketball, I have the weak side defender that's closest to him. The next defender over, leave his man and just double team, because Thomas is looking to score each and every time. I haven't seen him dribble, penetrate, and kick to an open teammate yet.
Well, he's the one guy who's kind of taking advantage of the opportunity, seizing the moment here. There really hasn't been a whole lot to speak of offensively for the Colonels. Willier missing that one. Horace comes up with a loose ball and lays it in. Horace has 8 points, but a lot of them have been plays like that, kind of second chance opportunities. It's really been in the flow of their offense. Dantrell Thomas has been far and away their biggest threat. Vonleh, that's a held ball and will stay with IU.
Horace has really brought a lot of energy on both ends of the floor. Getting a tie up that time with Vonleh and then scoring the offensive putback on the other end.
Indiana with the 30-second timeout.
Tom Crean calling a timeout to
One of the top guards in the Southland Conference this season.
Again, 12 points for him, his 5th straight game in double figures. We were talking about this at the outset of the broadcast. J.P. Piper said, as he goes, we go. He's gone pretty well. I'm not sure it's necessarily correlated to a great performance from Nichols, but head down 15 minutes to go. This game certainly isn't over.
Right, and they've done some good things, the Colonels have, but this is the area.
Troy Williams is fouled as he went for the jam. He is an explosive athlete.
And the Hoosiers continuing to pound the interior. Nice pass by Vonleh. I think if Williams just tried to go up and dunk that on a normal, like normally, Dave, that would have gone down. He tried to go for a highlight reel.
Some authority there.
Yeah, he cocked that back. He brought that back from Evansville.
Freshman out of Hampton, Virginia, played No Kill Academy at the big game against Washington as he rolls home his first point of the game, 22. That was the second most in a game for any Big Ten freshman this year. It's been up and down, as it is with many freshmen. Thomas through the lane, and he throws it down. Dantrell Thomas with 14.
Time athletic move right there, right at the rim.
Sheehy has it blocked by Liam Thomas. And here come the Colonels. Here's Carpenter. One doesn't go. Rebound. Horace had it momentarily. It will stay with the Colonels.
You just never know where your infusion of energy and emotion will come from. But Dantrell Thomas coming with the two-hand hammer. Now it looks like he's going to get a break on the bench, but well, that was a strong finish at the rim. I don't pattern myself as a coach, but I wouldn't be taking Dantrell Thomas out right now after making that play.
It is hard to disagree with that. He, again, has been the guy who's really brought the offensive firepower here for the Colonels. We'll see how they fare with him on the bench. And I think more to your point, how long he stays on that bench. Here's Carpenter. Nice feed inside, and Liam Thomas, the freshman from Australia, gets his first two.
Well, Colonel's hanging around, cut the lead to 12 now. And they're going to get more confident as this game gets deeper into the second half. Remember, they're coming off of a game at which they wanted IUPUI. They were down in the second half and outscored IUPUI 12-2 to win the game.
Hollowell, nice flow to the offense there. 8 points for Jeremy Hollowell.
Yeah, the Hoosiers are much better than IUPUI, but confidence is a funny thing, especially with a team like Nichols that's on the road with nothing to lose.
Kind of unconventional. They didn't come down until about 2 hours before the game. They did not shoot around here at Assembly Hall. They stretched out a little bit at Hinkle Fieldhouse, and Butler had a practice there, but Piper felt like as Thomas throws down the jam, so Liam Thomas coming to life. But J.P. Piper felt like this was a team just needed to relax a little bit. An offensive foul there, going to go against the Hoosiers, Evan Gordon.
All of a sudden, Nichols Colonels have gotten some energy and fire. They're cutting up the Hoosier defense here very easily with very little defensive pressure from the Hoosiers. It's almost like that dunk by Dantrell Thomas energized the Colonels. And J.P. Piper looks a lot smarter than I do right now, taking him out of the game because the Nichols haven't dropped any intensity whatsoever since that happened.
It looks like Rillier might be little banged up there. Colonel's on a 10-3 run to cut this deficit to a dozen. No problem breaking the press. Pedro Maciel, number 10, is into the game. He is a native of Brazil. International feel to this Nichols team. J.P. Piper said when he first got there, that was kind of by necessity. They're so bad they just couldn't recruit in this country, and he ended up creating a bit of a pipeline to Australia with one of his assistant coaches. And they have kept that going. 6 Australians on this team, including Thomas, who just missed that one. On the other end, though, Thomas getting the block on Fisher. Fisher trying to come up with a loose ball. Thomas goes down and gets it. And here comes Nichols. Now Carpenter. It's blocked by Etherington. And Indiana going to run. 2-on-2. Now the trailer Gordon into the lane. Farrell. Here's Hollowell.
Oh, what a sequence of action on both ends of the floor. Like Nichols was going to be able to close the 10. Couldn't get the shot to go. Etherington with a really good defensive play.
10 points now for Hollowell. He back up to 14 for the Hoosiers. Here's Thomas. 10 seconds to shoot. Smith, spin move. Nicely done by Jeremy Smith, his first 2.
That looked like his patented move, Dave. Like he's done that quite a bit before. He knew exactly where he wanted to go on the floor. Made his move as the shot clock runs down. Regardless of the outcome, Colonel's going to get some confidence from this game.
Yogi Ferrell continues to shoot it well. It's the three-pointer, his second 3 of this half. Now 14 for the Hoosiers' leading scorer.
Personal fouls, Indiana.
As we look at our Reese's perfect combination, it's Yogi Ferrell and Will Sheehy. They were roommates on the World University Games team this summer, and they have combined for 22 points in this one, Steve.
Yeah, shooting the basketball extremely well. Let's take a look, David, at some really good long-range shooters in the Big Ten. These are my top long-range chuckers, I like to call. Ben Bruss, Nick Stauskas, Yogi Ferrell, Linzel Smith Jr., and John Ike of Illinois. What I did is look at, you have to have a certain amount of attempts against makes and your percentage, and those 5 ranked out the highest in the Big Ten.
The special formula of a Stephen Bardo, I like the way you put it together.
Yeah, I mean,
it's tough to argue with that group, frankly.
Well, and the thing is, Keith Appling leads the conference in three-point shooting percentage at 50%. But he doesn't have as many attempts as those guys on that list. And so there's this, you have to have a certain amount of attempts to make that list.
And Hollowell pulls his way up and draws the foul. That's a dozen now for Jeremy Hollowell.
Good penetration, spin move, did not give up on the play. Hollowell, it's the second time we've seen him do that tonight. Get inside, gather himself, and then go up strong once again.
As he hits the free throw, converting on the three-point play. I'd say, based on last year's performances, though, I mean, Farrell about as unlikely a guy to be on that list as anyone, but has really picked it up, as you talked about, as a young man who was a very good shooter at Park Tudor High School and struggled with that shot last year, worked tirelessly on the gym, in the gym to improve it, as Macbeth hits a 3 of his own. That's 8 points now for Sam Macbeth. I suppose Ike would have been the most unlikely to be on there because he was playing for Illinois State. Right?
Correct. And the fact that he's had so much confidence early on, he's taken, I think, the 3rd most threes of anyone in the Big Ten thus far. So very confident shooter from long range.
Well, the transfers have really worked out well for John Gross. With Rayvonte Rice and John Ike, really a nice combination, and that's what he needed because he had lost so much production. I mean, the second fewest minutes returning from last year, Indiana in the Big Ten. The fewest minutes returning from last year, Illinois. So Hoosiers fans can relate to what the Illini are going through. And again, you get experienced players. Indiana did it with Evan Gordon, and that was kind of the blueprint for John Gross as well.
No, that's a great point. And the fact that not a lot of Big Ten schools will look to the Missouri Valley Conference to shore things up. That's exactly what Gross has done. Devontae Rice at Drake.
Macbeth missing there from point-blank range. That would have been a big hoop for Nichols. Would have gotten it back down to 11. And now a foul on the other end on the Colonels. We have a doubleheader of hoops action for you Sunday on BTN, and game one is right back here as the Hoosiers host Kennesaw State. And then Penn State taking on Mount St. Mary's. Coverage starts at noon Eastern Sunday on both BTN and BTN to go. Foul there on Jadante Fry, number 3 on the freshman, who is from Thibodaux, Louisiana, where Nicholls State is located. And so Hollowell goes back to the free throw line, but a very impressive offensive game for Hollowell. Just hit a free throw a moment ago, 13 points for him.
And this young man not only can score the basketball, but against Notre Dame, he had a career-high 7 assists, 4 rebounds, and 2 blocked shots. So there's not an area of the game that Jeremy Hollowell, when he's on top of his game, he doesn't affect. That's why I think he's one of the X factors for this team and how far they'll go this season.
14 points in this game, 4 shy of his career high. And ball goes out of bounds off the Colonels, so it'll be Indiana ball. Chance to get some more points on this possession. Hollowell checking out.
You talked about Penn State playing here Sunday, not here, but playing Sunday, and such a heartbreaking loss to Princeton in overtime at home. I mean, that's a good Princeton team that could very well be in the NCAA tournament.
A great feed there, and Pereira finishes it off, and he'll go to the stripe. Yogi Ferrell's throwing some great passes in this game.
And he's dragging the defense, meaning that you see he drew almost a double team, drawing Thomas away from Pereira. Sweet wraparound left-hand pass, and Tom Crean loves it.
So Hunter Pereira to the free throw line. He has 4 points. You're right, though. That was a tough one for Penn State. What a neat atmosphere for them, going back to the old gym to play a game for the first time since the 90s.
And that was a rough weekend for the Big Ten.
It was really a bad day on Saturday for the Big Ten. We saw Indiana lose to Notre Dame. I had the game with Purdue losing to Butler. You had Illinois going on the road, building a big lead. And then, of course, the one that really would have resonated with Michigan losing to Arizona.
Well, that and Iowa losing at Iowa State on Friday night. I mean, they were up 5 with 1:10 left. And nationally, the Big Ten takes a hit perception-wise when they can't close out some of those games.
Again, 6 to shoot. Here's Doyle. Jumper by Fry that goes down. A 3-pointer for Jadante Fry, his first field goal of the game.
Indiana still not selling for outside jumpers, getting the ball in the paint. Saw Marlin early coming off the bench for Indiana and not taking a jumper, and the crowd being upset. Coach Crean wanting the ball to go inside.
11 points now for Sheehy, and the lead back up to 17. That was the big thing that Tom Crean emphasized to us today. The paint touch is so important for this Indiana team. Even if the shot doesn't come from the paint, he wants the ball to be in the paint at some point in the possession. It ends up in the paint there and ends up in the hoop for Stanford Robinson.
And one of the things that warms my heart when I watch the Hoosiers play, they run a fast break to the rim. You see so many college teams and guys run to the three-point line and stop and wait for a pass. Indiana runs for dunks and layups.
It's passed by Rillier, and Luke Doyle gets his first 2. Rillier had gone out a few moments ago, remember, with looked like a bruised thigh, but he's back in there. And Farrell continues to excel on the offensive end. 16 now for Yogi.
Man, Yogi goes to his left as well as any guard in the Big Ten. I mean, very comfortable finishing as well.
This match is the largest lead of the game, but Jadante Fry very quickly. 2 straight three-pointers, and again, it's down to 16.
I'll tell you something, Indiana's defense has been porous here in the last couple of minutes. Nicholls State's been able to get any kind of shot they want.
Speaking of getting shots, Stanford Robinson, nice spin move.
Oh, I like Stanford Robinson. Guy knows how to win coming from Findlay Prep. One of high school championship.
It's the rebound there, and here comes Indiana again on the break. It's Farrell. Great move there around Rillier. Now kicks it out. A wide open Sheehy. And Will Sheehy with his second straight three. 14 points for him. A 21-point lead for the Hoosiers, and this crowd coming to life here in Bloomington. And the Colonels call a timeout.
And when you have a guy that is a long-range threat like Yogi Ferrell, the defense has to play tighter to him, Dave. And so when the defense plays tighter, his ability to penetrate is enhanced.
Hoosiers on a 12-5 run to open up this 21-point lead, which is their largest of the game. Colin Hartman back in there for the Hoosiers. There's some nice playing time in this one. Here's Rillier. Throws it up wildly. Speed inside Macbeth, who weighs it in. TJ Carpenter doing a good job there of finding his man, and Macbeth has 10. (71-52). The Hoosiers on top of Nicholls State. Looking to get to 9-3. More per gallon. And by Jared, the Galleria of Jewelry. Truly unique designs you won't find just anywhere. That's why he went to Jared. Indiana shooting better than 68% here in the second half. They've opened up a 19-point lead on the Colonels. As the Hoosiers look to inbound it. Here's Sheehy, had knocked away. Dantrell Thomas battling for it. And Rillier comes out of there with it.
Well, Rillier's come off the bench. I thought he'd be stiffened up with that knee to the thigh, but he's moving like nothing happened.
Here's Fry, who's hit a couple in the second half. Now Dantrell Thomas. Just spinning in, out of control, and she comes up with a loose ball. A foul on the Colonels as we take a look at tonight's country mark on the mark athlete of the game, and it is Yogi Ferrell. 16 points, 6 assists, but a particularly impressive second half.
Yeah, really came out fired up, looking for his teammates, and that set his own offense up. You know, they softened the defense with continued attacks in the paint, off the bounce, and putting the ball on the post, and then the defense softens up, and Yogi takes advantage with a couple threes.
Troy Williams hitting the first free throw, 2 points for him. Jeremy Smith back into the game for the Colonels. Jadante Fry will sit down.
You know, if you look at the collection of athletes that Indiana has right now, I mean, they're so young, but to get a young team to commit to rebound the basketball like they're doing, it is very impressive. And Tom Crean and his staff have to get a lot of credit for that.
Through the lane, Dantrell Thomas continues to play aggressively. 18, 9 in each half. Sheehy, that one rims out. Rebound Macbeth.
You can tell Sheehy coming off of 22 points last game against Notre Dame. Really trying to continue that good feel with his jumper. That last one in and out, but right on line with his shots tonight from the perimeter.
Etherington comes in, foul on Vonleh. That's his third. And Farrell going to check back in for the Hoosiers as well, as Will Sheehy will take a seat. Nice game for Sheehy. He needs to get going offensively. We saw the good game against Notre Dame, as you've mentioned, Stephen, but had been in a bit of a slump. So a couple good ones in a row. They certainly need him offensively as they head into conference play.
For sure. And I think what Coach was talking about as well is that she was making too many mental decisions. He wasn't just reacting and responding. He was overthinking the game. Right now, it's just coming to him a lot better now.
Tom Crean talking about indecisiveness on Sheehy's part, and really mentioning that on the part of the entire team, and saying that a huge part of what Indiana needs to work on is awareness, being aware of what the situation is. What's a good shot when you're up 5? What's a good shot when you're down 5? He said it just doesn't feel like they have a great grasp of that part of the game right now. As Rillier is fouled on for Indiana. So we take a look at tonight's Culligan Pure and Simple difference maker, and it is Jeremy Hollowell, Steve.
Yeah, Jeremy Hollowell, 6 of 9 from the field, and really committing himself to use his height advantage this game in the paint area. A guy that's pretty comfortable on the perimeter as well, but showing nice aggressiveness in the paint with that 6'8" frame.
Free throw by Shane Rillier is good. First point of the game for Rillier, who is not a big scorer, about 6 points per game, but need a little bit more than that out of your starting point guard. He is a really bad free throw shooter. Now 13 of 33 on the year. And on the other hand, the Hoosiers, again, very quick in transition, and Evan Gordon gets his first 2.
Sideline fast break, meaning that the ball comes up one side via the pass. Indiana running hard. They're rewarded for that effort.
Dantrell Thomas continues to impress. That is 20 points for him. Offensive foul called on Evan Gordon.
Evan Gordon looking around, but that's pretty obvious. He was right in front of John Gaffney on that foul. Watch the follow through. And good acting job right there. That was a whiff. I don't even think he made contact, but good job by T.J. Carpenter.
Ball will stay with Nichols. As Farrell checks out to a nice round of applause. Impressive game from Yogi Ferrell, Stephen. He has to take on this mantle of leadership for the Hoosiers, just a sophomore. But I mean, other than Sheehy and I suppose Gordon, even though he hasn't been in this program, those are the guys who have experience playing at this level.
Yeah, they have experience of what Coach Crean expects. And that's even more important than playing at this level, to me. But as we look, Kennesaw State on Sunday, and then the Hoosiers open up at Illinois to start the Big Ten slate New Year's Eve. So the gauntlet starts early and often in the Big Ten.
Been some compelling games played between those two schools through the years.
Yeah, over 28 years worth in my recollection.
You were reliving one of the more dramatic finishes in that series with Bob Hamill, longtime sports writer here in Bloomington earlier today. 24 kid too, so you've got two people who come from a school of thought of slowing things down and grinding. But you're right. I mean, they are up-tempo when they want to be. They push it with the guards a little bit. The emergence of Frank Kaminsky has really been something. Just year in and year out, the next guy in line is there, and that's what impresses me with Wisconsin. Is you wonder who it's going to be, but it's always someone.
We've seen Butch, John Lure, Bergeron. I mean, these guys that come into the program, not highly recruited, come in and work, trust the system. Sometimes they have to redshirt, and then when it's their time up, they step up.
And that was amazing with Brian Butch. I mean, the guy was a McDonald's All-American who redshirted. We've got Minnesota coming up next against Omaha, game 2 of our doubleheader. We'll get you out to the barn as soon as we are done. Kevin Kugler and Sean Moore is standing by to check in on a Minnesota team that is 9-2 out of the gate under first-year coach Richard Pitino. Turnover for the Hoosiers. That is 20 now for IU. You have to believe that's something that Tom Crean will have a few words about with his team, Steve.
Oh, for sure. And, you know, some of that's to be expected because they're young and they're trying to run the basketball. They're trying to play fast. But it's going to take a higher level of concentration on behalf of all of the Hoosiers to learn how to take care of the basketball better, because if you have 15 or more turnovers in the Big Ten, you're not going to win very many of those games against the type of competition in this conference.
Follows on Smith. That's his third. Take a look at Yogi Ferrell, who will be running that offense for IU, and Ferrell has been somewhat guilty in this game. 4 turnovers for him, as well as he has played. As Davis hits the free throw.
Well, and I think some of that, too, this is his 12th game with Noah Vonleh and Troy Williams.
Right.
You know, and so he's still getting used to some of his teammates as they're getting used to him. And so the more games they get under their belt, the smoother that will become.
Got to have the hands ready when you're playing with Yogi, that's for sure.
Yes, you do. And if you notice, his body has matured quite as well in the offseason. Dedicated himself to getting stronger. And his body reflects that.
So final $1:30 of this game as Smith hits the pull-up. What's your takeaway on what you've seen from Indiana?
A team that has weathered the storm, and what I mean by that, this is finals week. Finals week does funny things to teams, especially young guys. And they've had a hard week of practice. Tom Crean went very easy on them in shoot-around today because he said that they've had a good week of practice, and so they come out here, they were focused, they were aggressive, and they got the job done.
They played well in spurts, that's for sure. I think they have to feel very good about the beginning of the second half. Came out and played with a purpose. Now Johnny Marlin finally puts up that shot that everyone's been calling for, although that was not the open 3 that he had a couple times in the first half. There you see Tom Crean, 6th year here at Indiana, and you think about the mess that he inherited and the incredible job that he has done these last couple of years. They were #1 in the nation for 11 weeks last season. Ended a little disappointingly, a little earlier than IU fans would have wanted it to. The #1 seed falling to Syracuse in the NCAA tournament, but he has done a phenomenal job to get this program back to where it belongs, and that is in the upper reaches of the Big Ten, and of course won a Big Ten title last year.
Yeah, and it's been an amazing transformation because, quite honestly, I thought it would take longer than this. Even as good a coach as Tom Crean is, and the tradition that is Indiana basketball, they were about as low as a quote-unquote blue blood that I've ever seen. And he's brought this program back quick, fast, and a hurry.
Well, the Big Ten cannot be at its best unless Indiana is good. And we talk about this all the time in football as well, when Michigan has been down at times. Big Ten football can't be at its best unless Michigan is rocking and rolling, unless Penn State is rocking and rolling. Nebraska now with new addition to the league. But I think it's the same thing with Indiana basketball. If the league is going to be the best in the country as it was last year, part of that was you had Indiana #1 in the nation.
There's no question about it. And 5 NCAA championship banners point that out.
A lot of the walk-ons in, including Taylor Weyer, who has the ball here. Weyer in the lane. That doesn't go. Jerkin going for the rebound. He can't get it. And that will do it here from Bloomington. So the Hoosiers